Hello and welcome to the Fintech Finance Arena. I'm your host Doug Mackenzie, and on today's session we're going to be finding out all about Huawei's AppGallery and how it intersects with the fintech scene. And joining me today is Siri Børsum from AppGallery itself. Siri, how are you doing here today?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for inviting me. Such
Nice.
a pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you on, and yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to kind of hear your insights, on the topic and kind of to find out a bit more about what you've been working on. So, for our viewers who might not be aware, could you tell them a bit about yourself and also your journey to Huawei, because it's actually been really quite fascinating.
Well, that's a long. I've been working for about 25 years now, so I don't think we all go all the way back. But I started like my whole journey with sort of wanting to become a journalist, a little bit like yourself, and found out that there was so much more exciting things going on that I actually enjoyed. So moving into sales, and then sales took me into a company called Google back in 2007. And I must say that that was kind of a fascinating thing, because they were just started and opened the office in Norway back then. And not many people actually knew what Google was all about. And there was a lot of people sort of saying, Siri, what are you going to do there? You are not a technologist, or you are not an engineer. And I was like, well, apparently I'm going to sell some ads. And everyone was like, ads? What do you mean ads? And that's where it started. So we were about 4 or 5 people when I joined. And when I left about 12 years later, there were about 100 people from 16 different nationalities. So it was an amazing journey. Yeah. And I got to experience the digital transformation and the extreme development that we've seen in this industry, and how technology can actually be a very good provider for us as consumers in making our lives easier to live, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning.
It's absolutely amazing to kind of see that transformation, because now everyone knows the cat's out of the bag that Google makes its money from ads and everything around that. But back, as you said, in 2007, its model was still kind of imperceivable, and it's interesting that now ads in the digital transformation side of things, whether you're a bank, whether you're an e-commerce provider, it is at the heart of that. Now, if we were to now look at AppGallery, can you tell our viewers a bit more about that, please?
Well, just to go a little bit back. So after 12 years at Google, I can't say I had experienced everything there was to experience at Google, but I had like 12 amazing years, and I got to love technology for what technology can bring to us as customers and consumers.
Yeah.
So I left the company wanting to be part of something that could create even more competition and provide even better solutions. And when Huawei reached out to me and telling me about the mission for the AppGallery, I thought this is an amazing opportunity working towards the financial sector. Just to be part of actually getting more competition into this space, because with the competition we get better solutions, and Definitely. We get and we get better products for us as consumers. That was the really cool thing, the fact that Huawei now is the third largest mobile ecosystem globally, and that's huge. And we see the interest, we see the need for this, and we see how actually that brings me to sort of the fintech industry, how it has been so exciting to work with the fintech industry. They are so in front, they are so keen, they're so eager to try and test and fail and learn and then step up again, but basically to go out there and provide us with more solutions, more choice as consumers, so I can actually choose what's best for me, not the winner takes it all approach,
Yeah.
which I really do think we need in this space.
I think you've really hit the nail on the head. To me, fintech really is this ability to kind of get everyone access to these services that should always have been open up to everyone, but also this willingness to keep on trying. You see, it's such a dynamic ecosystem. As you said, just that keep trying mentality. And I think that's so key in tech and so key in also finance. And it's something that we haven't seen for 200 years in finance. To finally see it, to be a part of that.
Because what we see is that we've always seen. I worked with the finance industry back when I was at Google as well, and had to sort of explain. So this is an ad, and this is why it's smart for you as a bank to actually be visible on a site like Google. And it took quite some time, but when they got it, and then there's sort of the traditional players would move fast, but it took quite a while to get them on board.
Yeah.
And naturally that will be the same when there is a new ecosystem rolling out. But what is so cool now is that we actually get the opportunity to show all Huawei, those that have a Huawei phone, all the other players that are there, because they are now not competing with the big traditional ones because they haven't onboarded yet.
Yeah.
So, which means that the consumers are suddenly being aware of the fact that there are so many other solutions out there that are actually better and that are providing them with better services. And COVID has, and the pandemic has absolutely changed the way we see consumers interact with financial services digitally. So that has been a truly sort of inspiring journey to be on with the consumers. It's just a shame that we needed a pandemic for people to actually change their behavior. But we know how it's hard for us to make those changes as consumers if we don't have to. But I think we will see the industry now moving in a totally different speed than we have previously.
Interesting. Now, before we dive deeper into the financial inclusion element around AppGallery, I'm really excited to kind of follow on about that pace and that level of change that we're seeing in the industry. So what are some milestones or even kind of figures that really blow you away when you think of AppGallery?
I think first of all, what has really inspired me is to see how fast we moved from zero, nothing to actually having I think we now have 2.7 million registered developers. That is a huge amount of developers that are engaging and interacting with our technology and the possibility that we can provide as Huawei. We have 540 million active users, and 93 million of them are here in Europe.
Wow.
So that for me has been really inspiring. And then how the technology is developing in such a speed, how we are improving so many bits and pieces that have been challenging until now, on the security, on the privacy. Like we're taking these steps at a speed that I've never seen anything like.
Yeah, and I think you've really touched on an interesting point there. It is really, we are the digital first generation. We are establishing that narrative of what is acceptable from a security point of view, from a privacy point of view, as we're running. You're right on the forefront of making those decisions that will define the industry going forward. And I think when you factor in the amount of numbers of people that, for instance, are users here in Europe alone, which has very strong security and privacy laws, that is such a vanguard. That is so exciting, and it's brilliant to hear that you're part of that AppGallery. Now, speaking of obviously of Europe, and there's obviously been a huge shift in geopolitics, and it's obviously had a massive impact on AppGallery. So maybe there was some positives from that. What was it almost like building back up from scratch?
Well, there's no doubt that the geopolitical space has been very challenging for Huawei, and I joined a year and a half ago, and it has been challenging. But it also, I think, put a lot more pressure on us to make sure that we have all the security and the privacy elements in order, because we need to make sure that we treat our customers with respect. And I'm very happy that we do that.
Yeah.
It has, but again, so back to the fintech industry and how they see opportunities in space, and the fact that we have so many users. And as long as we keep within all the regulations that we do and that we have to do, that makes us actually have really good conversations with the partners that we are interacting with, and we've seen some great partnerships coming along in Europe the last year.
Well, let's speak about those a bit more. Let's dive into your role as well. What are your main aims for AppGallery?
Well, when I joined, I think my main sort of goal was to make sure that we had a lot of choice, and that there was competition in this space so that we could actually get better solutions. But moving into the job and looking at what needed to be done, I saw that the need for financial health is huge. And it's a huge responsibility we have. It's not sustainable for us to actually leave people outside.
Yeah.
And I'm not only talking about people having a bank account. I'm actually talking about people in all countries, even in Norway, which is one of the world's richest countries in the world. Because there are people that are left outside. They don't know how to deal with their finances because they've never been told how to. And with all these digital tools, with PSD2 and all the possibilities that's coming now with open banking, we actually have the opportunity to help people with their finances. So our vision is to bring financial health to every home, to every organization, and to every person. And I think that is something that we really work hard to achieve.
Yeah. Now, with that in mind, we have talked about financial inclusion before, but if we were actually to dive into it a bit further, what can AppGallery do specifically to open up financial services industry to developers? As you said, we've kind of gone past the point where it's not just being able to offer up a bank account to everyone. There are far more financial service products that can be offered out. So how does AppGallery work in that kind of context?
Well, first of all, I think the fact that we are local in all local markets. We are on the ground. We are actually there to help. That is a huge difference. And also it gets us a lot closer. So it's easier to understand what is the challenge, what is it that they, we call them content providers, but our partners and the financial services, what is it that they want to achieve? What's their goal? How are they set out to actually help the consumers? So we get very sort of, lack of a better word, but close and personal. Yeah. So we can understand, and therefore we can also help to develop solutions that fit that challenge.
Right.
So and I mean we're not there yet. We just started. I've had the job for about a year, so we have to remember how things takes time. But I think we have come so far in such a short time, and we are now having projects like we have Blue Code, which is a really exciting project that we have in Austria. We're working with all the big players in Italy. Curve is a big partner of us, and there are many of the likes that are joining us these days. And what you see is that the competition, again, and I keep repeating myself, but competition sort of brings the fear of missing out, because you don't want to miss out. You want to be there and grab the opportunity for getting users and new customers. So I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're actually being local.
Well, that actually kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask you, how does AppGallery work with the fintechs to kind of enable them? Because a lot of these developers, they know how to create the product, but maybe in such a regulated industry, how do they then take that into finance? How can AppGallery help these fintechs kind of get to that stage?
Yeah, well, I feel that that's what I kind of answered as well. I think those two things come together in one. And for me personally, it is making sure that we also create competition in their space, not just as an app gallery versus other global app marketplaces, but actually within the industry, because we see that that's how, and I also think the fact that, going back to the geopolitical challenge, okay, we need to look at things differently. Yeah. We need to approach things from a different angle, and as a result, that is often why you come up with new ideas, and they are often better.
Yeah.
They are just in front of your nose tip. It's just you need to be. I used to, or I read a book by a guy called Edward de Bono, and he calls himself the father of creativity. And he once said that creativity, innovation, and change starts with stimulation. And it often starts through facts, storytelling, and provocation. And in this sense, you can take like provocation as a bit as a competition, because you do get quite provoked if you see that your competitors are doing things that you were about to do, or you want to do, or you haven't thought about doing. So that is why we want to bring even the smallest players on board, because they might have solutions for you that don't fit me, but they're perfect for you and your family. Yeah. And we want that choice. We want consumers to have that choice. And then obviously our job is to make sure that everyone out there understands that there is a choice. There's a choice. So we need to use the AppGallery in itself to actually promote and to bring forward all these small players and be good in showing their advantages, because the bigger ecosystems are not there that they do that today. So I think that's an advantage that we actually bring to the table.
Yeah, and I think that's so incredible. Offering that service, that choice to everyone is increasingly going to be more critical in a digital ecosystem, because it can access everyone. These digital touchpoints can impact everyone. Now, to be able to offer up that level of choice, you need to have diverse and teams that are representative of everyone on your side as well. Now, that's something that's been critically missing, I would say, in tech and finance as well. So when you come to this intersection, especially for someone like yourself who's been working at Google since 2007, what is that role like, and how can corporates start waking up and looking at diversity and inclusion and representation in far more interesting ways?
Thank you for asking that question. That is a topic that's very close to my heart for many reasons, but mostly because I feel, especially when it comes to financial services, if you go and look into the industry, it's been very much men in the same suits. They look exactly the same, and the language have been the same, and we've been doing things in the same way for as long as we can remember. And if you go back in time, it was a natural thing to put a loan on a man because he was the one out having an income, and the wife would often be at home. That has obviously changed over the last, I don't know, 50, 60 years. And now we see women actually being very much involved in business. But still, there are some things that are not changed. One of the things that we see here in Norway is the fact that if you as a couple want to take up a loan for your house, actually only 3 out of 10 that would be the legal owner of that loan would be a woman, even though they split the cost 50-50. And if you think about that, if that is the fact, then all the algorithms that are in the bottom there will make it look like women are not capable to hold a loan. So when you come as an individual woman and want to apply for a loan, you will maybe be discriminated against. And that is a problem that we don't see because we don't think about it. It's like, why is that important? But when you dig deeper into the data and see the consequences, it's important. And a man would never notice that problem because it's not a problem for him often, but it is for a woman. So it is things like that that I really want to see change, and therefore we need to have women on board. And you also see that there are females onboarding boards, CEO roles, but we're still very, very far from where we should be at this time in life, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what you've brought up as well speaks volumes to just how insidious the whole situation is from the off, because even if the men themselves aren't seeing that problem, neither are the robots that are inputting that data, and so the artificial intelligence and the machine learning then creates a knock-on effect, and instead of actually opening up financial services, we're seeing the kind of discrimination exacerbate. So it's absolutely brilliant to be able to hear that we're actually starting to realize that and move away from that. Now, speaking about, moving on and kind of changing the industry for better going forward, what is next for AppGallery?
Well, we just started, so we're training to the marathon for the marathon. But I think the next will be definitely to see some exciting partners onboarding and moving forward with them on exciting projects. And then we are obviously also looking into how open banking can be a really sort of what's the word in English? The accelerator to actually make this change that we need to see.
Yeah.
But still, there's still work to do. There's still services that I wish was available in AppGallery that we haven't gotten around to onboard yet. But hopefully we will within not too distant future. But there's still a lot of work to do. And I remember, like, back in when was it? In 2009, 2010, when we started with Google Play. It took a long time before I had the same apps on my phone as the ones that was on iOS.
Yeah.
So I'm running fast, but I am patient. I know it takes time, but I also know that our customers deserve to have a great choice to choose from. And that's what I'm working for.
Well, and I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. The industry is categorized by this obsession with choice, and that's because people are done with just accepting the same old poor services when it comes to their financial matters. I think, Siri, that's all we have time for, but thank you so much for your insights. It's absolutely fascinating hearing the perspective from Huawei and AppGallery, and also hearing what is coming up next in the industry when it comes to, for instance, right at the root, when you go and you install a financial application, a financial product on your phone, you're right at the heart of that route. And it's exciting to kind of hear what's coming next. So thank you so much for your insights. I hope you've enjoyed yourself as well.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
It's been our pleasure, and also to our viewers as well. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch the rest of the series and much more over at www.fintechf.com, and of course YouTube and LinkedIn, where I will see you in the comments. Once again, everyone, thank you so much, and goodbye.